I'm putting a gun to their head.
It's fucking good value. Free. You get access to it for free.
I cry.
I felt no value in it. Do you feel guilty for charging as much as you do for dog training? Well, as much as we do.
Every single day, I cry at how much I'm charging someone because I'm putting a gun to their head.
Shocking behaviour. Somebody asked me that the other day. Do you feel guilty for how much you charge?
What did you say?
Well, firstly, Matt Elwell came into my head and I wanted to respond with, the only thing that I know that charges is a rhinoceros. But I did not do that. I went, no, I do not feel guilty. And the look of sheer disbelief, I was like, why should I feel guilty? And as the words left my mouth, it made me think, God, this actually could sound really ugh. Like, why should I feel guilty for somebody paying me this much money? And when I explained it, which I hate doing, I hate doing all the...
Justifying it.
Yeah, and it does come across as a justification, and I don't like it. But arguably, I feel like we do need to justify it because I think it's going to help a lot of people. So the reason we don't feel guilty for putting the price point at what it is, rather than, let's say, the word charging, is because ultimately it's offering somebody a choice. So
But
even...
should they get a choice in dog training?
Ooh, elaborate.
Well, I do think we forget as dog trainers that we have a choice with everything else. So we like talking about the different price points of your supermarket brands, for example, or your car brands. Arguably, they pretty much do the same thing. They get you from A to B. They're a vessel.
They do vessels.
They're a vehicle even. And they get you around. So should Bentley feel really guilty when they sell a car to somebody?
Oh, this is it. It's like...
So why do we feel like dog trainers shouldn't be giving a choice? Why do we feel like we should do the same as everyone else?
Yeah. I get where you're coming at now with that choice thing. I was still trying to connect the dots in my head. I was like, what? Oh, I get it now. But yeah, so I just look at it and go, everyone has the right to choose who they want to work with. And they will choose who they want to work with for different reasons. Some people will 100% be price driven. And that is absolutely fine. And also, just to caveat that, just because somebody might be price driven doesn't necessarily mean that that has to be a low ticket price. Like, somebody could be price driven. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, actually, and she was describing a friend of hers who is obsessed with buying designer gear. Can't afford it, like total credit card debt, but it's all on designer gear. So they are price driven and brand driven to buy that higher price point. There are definitely lower ticket options available in the clothing department. But it's the same with dog training. So when I got asked this question of, do you feel guilty for charging what you do? I was like, well, again, no. Because if that person really wanted to, they could go to the kennel club puppy thing. I don't even particularly want to call it dog training, to be completely honest, but they could go to the kennel club thing at the cricket grounds and pay £2 on a pay-as-you-go model. £2. I've always wondered how that model works. But
There is a
hey-ho.
£4 one in where I live. A £4 pay-as-you-go version.
Shocking.
15,
I have
20
words for
dogs
this.
in there.
Like how? Anyway, no, we're not going to go down there. But yeah, so they've got that option. They could go to the £2, £4 kennel club thing. They could go to your air quote typical puppy class like you back in the day. And I always forget what yours was, like 80 quid?
That was in the end.
Oh my God.
Started as like 55.
Fuck my life. Like what, 6 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah, that was late 2000s. Not late 2000, like 2007, 8. It was started off at like 55 quid. And then it went right up to £80. That's how much it went up in all the time.
I know. Like, how am I working with you sometimes?
I know. I didn't know any different. Didn't know what I didn't know then.
It's true. This is true.
But as soon as someone opened my eyes out to it, I went, oh my God, what am I doing that for?
Yeah, no, it's all very true. It's very true. Yeah, so you got £2, you got £50 to £80. I think some of the class type things now are around 120-ish.
Yeah, you might.
I've seen a
you
few
might pay
creeping up.
to 120, 30-ish, maybe London areas or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know actually. One down by me, the one who you know as well, £120 6 weeks.
Okay.
So there's that. One-to-ones, what? I don't know, anything between 30 and 65.
Yeah,
Ish.
typically, yeah.
Maybe again a little bit higher in, like you say, London. So the question being, do I feel guilty? Well, that whoever's buying that product and service off of us now, because it's our dog training business, they've got that choice of all of those other models.
Yeah.
So why would then they invest in ours, which is upwards of £1,500?
So what about if we were a pay-as-you-go that wasn't £2 or £4 a session, but offered exactly the same outcome, but were £100 a session? Would that be value for money?
Oh, this is it. Who knows?
It's not for us to say, is it?
It's all subjective. You can't possibly apply any objective value onto your price point. And I think off the back of that, do you feel guilty bit comes, well, you're not making it accessible for everybody then. How very dare you?
Yeah, this is an argument that we hear a lot, isn't it? But you're excluding people being able to get help. Is it not a choice to get a dog?
Mm-hmm.
Is the fact that we have to pay a significant amount of money for a dog, usually,
Yeah.
does that not factor into it? Because they've already done that bit and they've already invested sometimes several £1,000s in the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Then we all get frustrated that people won't pay. But what we're doing is keeping those prices really low so people don't expect to have to pay.
Well, yeah.
So you're setting that expectation up
And let's face it,
right from the start.
if you're not outwardly bitching and moaning about it, you're inwardly doing it, because
Of course,
I've
yeah.
definitely had those thoughts of like, oh, you've spent thousands on that dog to get the actual dog.
And all the paraphernalia that goes with having a dog.
Yeah.
Don't forget your harnesses, your food, your lead, your collar, your toys, your
Yeah.
crates. Every single part of it has probably added up to quite a few £1,000s.
Easy.
But then as dog trainers, we're going like, we're £30.
Yeah.
So can you blame owners when they're a little bit
Yeah.
surprised that it might be a bit more?
Yeah, it's not their fault.
No?
It's ours. It's ours internally in this industry. Like we're creating an environment where it's a race to the bottom,
Yeah.
and nobody's going to win off of that.
Yeah. And actually, going back to that example that we talked about with the pay-as-you-go class, you could look at those two examples and go like, hold on a minute, there's one person there paying, charging £2 and you're charging £100 for exactly the same outcome. Now, as a direct comparison, that's not great. However, what if that £100 class then turned into the creme de la creme of dog training classes and they were getting a much better outcome from that class, but there were similarities around it? Would that be different?
Yeah. Again, I don't think there's any way of measuring it, because
I don't think
ultimately,
there is, actually.
there isn't.
No, because everybody's perception of it is different and everybody's like expectation of it will be different and everybody's experience within it will be different.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got someone who hates that kind of group environment, there'll be people that absolutely love that group environment. And vice versa for like a one-to-one. Some people don't want that as much, but some people do.
Yeah. And
Is it for us to say what someone should have or shouldn't have?
No, absolutely not. Well, I don't think so. Because again, it's so subjective. Like, all you can do, in my opinion, is be yourself, offer the service that you believe is right. So even like in our business, I know we will come at things in slightly different ways. Like even down to some of the exercises, I know we teach it a bit different.
But so we should. We're human.
Exactly. And that's within the same business offering the same service to the same clients sometimes.
Yeah.
So they're receiving arguably two different approaches, but we address it and we acknowledge it and go, do you know what? It's just another skill in your toolkit.
But also, let's look at this same example in Canine Business Academy.
Yep.
There are clients that we both work with, but we have slightly different approaches with. And you've got strengths where there might be more my weakness and vice versa. And that's okay as well.
Yeah. So you can't possibly put, I don't think, a monetary value on, and this is that grey area, isn't it? Because ultimately you are needing to put a monetary value on your value so that you get paid to deliver what you do. But I think this is where it's really difficult when people ask questions of, well, what should I be charging then? Well, for starters, let's stop using that word charging. And I know it sounds like a really picky thing. And I know I jokingly keep referring to Matt, but it has had such a profound effect on how we do things because the language has changed to going, well, actually, yeah, charging does draw up negative connotations. It's like, oh, I'm being charged for something. I don't like it. Like, what's the cost? Like, the cost of something means technically I'm losing something.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's the investment or the fee, immediately I've got a different feeling about it. So choosing those different language points is definitely going to help. And I think that makes a huge difference on that accessibility perception as well, because you're going to look at, potentially going to look at your investment as an investment rather than a cost to you.
Here's a question. Well, actually, it's a couple of questions, but the first one is, if it costs more, back to that word cost, but if it's more of an investment,
Yeah.
is it better?
Theoretically, it's what we're kind of...
Is it always better?
Well,
for me, actually, let's go back to the designer clothing example.
Yeah.
I have no... There's probably a very small exception to this rule for me, but I don't have an appeal to designer clothes.
I've got zero inclination.
I actually think it in some cases, it actually makes them look cheaper and it just doesn't exude value to me.
Mm-hmm.
But they might cost like we went to Selfridges actually. Gareth was looking for some clothes after Christmas and stuff. And we went to Selfridges and we were looking for like a smart cash jacket. So like almost like a tweedy type cord, that kind of thing. Not like a smart suit jacket you wear to a wedding, but just like a cash one you can stick with jeans or whatever. And he saw this one in Selfridges and he went, oh, that's nice. And I was like, and it was like D&G, I think it was. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's okay. But the one in Next that cost it was probably less than a third of the price is as nice and fitted you as well. So therefore, I don't see that's value for money. And that was ultimately his decision to not get that jacket. But because of what I said, he was like, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. If that jacket, and actually the jacket he ended up getting was from a suit shop actually. And he went in there and he put it on and it cost more than the Next version, not as much as the D&G version, but the cut on the jacket was like amazing for him. And as soon as he put it on, I went, that's brilliant. Like, you need to get that one because that's amazing. And he was like, oh yeah, it does fit a lot better, doesn't it? And it looks and feels a lot better. And I was like, that's the value piece for us. It was that it doesn't just, it's not the name of it. No one cares where that jacket was from. He's not going to say, oh, it was from Suits Plus or wherever it was from. It's like, it was from this shop in Birmingham and it looks nice and it fits well and it feels good quality and it looks like it'll last. And that's the value.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean if it costs more that it is better, but it's what qualities make it valuable to that person, I suppose.
Yeah, I think as time goes on, that perception around it being a higher price point equaling better is starting to blur a little bit. I always remember going to get like when I went through like a really heavy phase of having time to go and get my ink done and all my tattoos. And there was a sign in the tattoo shop going like, cheap isn't better.
Oh, yeah.
Or
It's
something
similar.
to that effect. It's like, well, basically you pay for what you get for. So if you want a cheap, shitty tattoo that's not going to look nice at all, yeah, fine, go pay. And you pay decent prices here for a better outcome. And I was like, I don't even know how I feel about people putting those type of signs up,
Yeah,
because
I know
it's a
what you
bit
mean.
like, if you feel the need to say it, yeah.
You're trying to address the elephant in the room that you know people are
it's that
feeling.
justification bit
Yeah,
again.
it is.
And I was like, you can't justify it because it's a feeling. It's a perception of what somebody thinks they're going to get.
That tattoo one is a good one, actually, because tattoos shouldn't be cheap. They're for life.
Yeah.
They're a big decision.
It's a skill set and a half.
Oh
I'd
my
rather
God.
somebody who's been doing it a while and knows, has made all the mistakes and not done it on me. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, yeah. But that's something that, like, we've both got ink and we both spend money on that. But I would rather go, I'm going to spend 500 quid on a tattoo than go and spend 500 quid on a handbag
Yeah.
by Chanel that I just don't think looks very nice and probably doesn't serve the purpose that I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my choice.
Don't you feel guilty for not giving Chanel your £500?
I'm sure they're crying because I'm not a customer. Sorry, anyone that works for Chanel. But it's that, it's not for us to say.
No, and again, it comes back to you can't. And I don't think anybody should feel guilty about putting whatever price point out there at. We've done it before, and if you've not seen it, we've done like a money masterclass over in the pod classes. We've popped that in the membership. And on that money masterclass, all the M's, we went through really understanding your numbers. And I think that does, it's a really good starting point, I think, to look at where should your price points be.
Yeah, because it can feel like, well, how do I even start to think
like
of a figure?
literally, we're trying to describe it on it because for an audience, like lick your finger, stick it in the air.
Yeah.
Like, where do I get
Stick a
that?
pin, yeah.
Where do I get that price point from? So I do think it's really important to know your numbers, because let's face it, if you are going to do the average, and let's go back to the 80 quid 6-week puppy class thing. Well, if your bills are 1,500, £2,000 a month, let's say, and that's your input that you have to put in, or even half of that, like even if that's £1,000. Does your, like, how many, I can't remember what number I said now, how many 90 quids, 80 quids do you need to sell
A lot. My
to
maths
bring
is
that
terrible, but a lot.
to bring that money in? How many on a recurring basis do you need to be doing it? If you're doing one-off ad hoc sessions at 35 quid, how many of those do you need to be selling to hit your numbers?
And then if you look at it like that, you can feel yourself stress about the amount of new people that you need to bring in then straight away, because you're like, oh my God, these are all ad hoc, so there's no retention there. So I need to keep finding these new people. And no wonder people get so hung up on leads, bringing people in. I need more clients. I need more leads. Where do I find them? Where do I get them? Mm-hmm. And no wonder that stress is there, because that's a lot of clients you've got to keep bringing in there.
Yeah, it's the hardest business model ever to just keep attracting new people. Like, those businesses that do really good customer retention are the ones that succeed really well.
Yeah. Look at Netflix.
Yeah.
Great customer
Exactly.
retention. Amazon Music or Amazon Prime.
Yeah. All of them. Brilliant business models because they focus on retention, not new customers. Weirdly, I think Sky still has the new customer model. They don't look after their existing customers. They'd rather lose you and get a new one.
There's still a lot of companies like that. Virgin are like that because we recently left Virgin.
Yeah. But no, it's interesting. Bit of
Yeah.
tangent. But yeah, interesting. So from that accessibility point of view then, what's your take on, okay, so you're now charging this higher price point because of course that's what business coaches are going to say. Charge more money.
Yeah.
Do it now. Emphasis. What about everybody else that can't afford that?
They can go to other people if they want to go to other people. Or if the trend starts being set that, do you know what? That because this is my other question going to be to you actually, is what are the benefits of a higher price point for the dog trainer? So if we get over the fact that we're going to exclude lots of people and have that like, oh my God, these people can't get access to a trainer and they really need it, then where do we go from there with regards to how does that help us? So what are the benefits for the dog trainer? So obviously they're going to get more money, but what then does that allow them to do?
It actually allows you to do what you want to do, which is to help the people that can't afford it.
Ah, that's a different way of looking at it.
Because the reality is, if you are busy scratting and you're busy trying to get these low ticket things and you're constantly having to attract new people, well, you're still only one human being, I'm guessing. Not figured out how to clone yourself yet. And you are still going to reach capacity. So let's assume now then that you've got a low ticket offer. So it's an accessible price, whatever accessible is, because again, subjective, but we'll go with that theme for now. So I've got a low ticket, accessible product and price, and I've got, I don't know, 10 people I'm working with. I can't physically fit anybody else in, or I'm maxed out on my classes, or I'm maxed out on my time. I can't physically do any more. How are you now being accessible to everybody? Because you're not. You've just suddenly made yourself inaccessible to everybody. And I'm sorry, not sorry, when we're saying that we want to be accessible for everybody because people can't afford it and people can't afford to do that, you're not even booked out. You haven't got the work coming in because you are then following up going, I need more leads, I need more inquiries.
Yeah.
So how is being accessible helping anybody?
No, and it's flipping that mindset, isn't it? And
It's the wrong way to look at it. Because we are all up for accessibility. It's the one thing a business should be able to do, like give value to your audience, whether that's paid or none. But let's face it, if you haven't got an audience, because we're scratting and we're trying to be accessible, yet actually you're not being accessible, because like I say, once you're capped, well, you can't help anybody then, can you?
Yeah.
So then where do they go?
Yeah, and we were actually talking about this because this podcast wouldn't be possible if we didn't have a business model that meant we brought money in.
Yeah.
Because of the value exchange, not because we just feel like, yeah, let's just charge loads of money for it. It's like, actually, we think we do a decent job of warranting that kind of fee anyway. But it means that we can keep doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And look how many people it reaches, look how many countries it reaches. Mm-hmm. And look how many people message us and say like, oh, you guys, I needed to hear that this week.
Yeah.
You've helped me so much. Like they haven't paid for anything from us, but we've helped them. And that makes us feel really good that we get to do that every week.
And it is totally a mindset thing, because ultimately, and again, every successful business model I know operates this type of approach, whereby you have initially, whether you look at it as you're in early days of business or you're suddenly just switching into a niche or whatever it may be, but early proper air quote business doors, if you don't go in with a higher ticket model, you're going to be stuck really quickly, because you're either going to have something that sells incredibly well at low ticket, and then you've got to get staff and extra support and extra systems, and all of which is doable, but you're still going to be very time heavy, even if you go down that online route, which again is not a conversation for right now, but it's a whole other thing. But the more you generate that income initially, so the few that are willing to pay the higher investment allows you to be accessible to nearly everybody you want to in your audience. So the few people that invested in CBA in those early days allowed us to not only give them epic value and continued epic value, but we are able to pass that value on to every single one of you listening now through the means of, like you say, the podcast. It allowed us to write the book, which then means that's a low ticket product that's out there for the world to consume. It allowed us to do the pod classes, the low ticket membership, to allow more of you to consume if you can't genuinely afford the higher ticket investment. If we'd have launched with any of that, well, A, we wouldn't have been able to invest in ourselves to do the book. The book wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
The podcast wouldn't exist. Or it would have tailored off very fucking quickly. Because it's an expensive thing to run.
Yeah. And we would have burnt ourselves out in the process.
Yeah.
Like, we worked really fucking hard, by the way, to do all those things last year, but it was manageable.
Yeah. It's nowhere near like a level of burnout.
No, not at all, because again, like this, another sort of spin-off subject, which we won't go into now, is like that purpose thing is so strong. So it doesn't deviate from like that mission of, we know why we're doing this and nothing would stop us. What about that question? What about that question of, if you had a 10 grand, like, reliable lottery income that was
you've won like a competition
coming in every single month for the rest of your life, would you still do what you do?
I would like to think the answer is yes. We know for us, like, we talk about this a lot, don't we? Going like, do you know what? If that genuinely happened and we were getting consistent 20k each a month, we would, like, and that was guaranteed for the next 2 to 5 years. I would do nothing different on how I operate daily. I would still 100% be in this business, doing what we do, showing up here at the studio.
And I would ask the question to you listening, would you do the same? Would you still be dog training? Would you still be delivering it in the way that you're delivering it? Would you still be charging what you charge now? Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't.
I wonder actually if people are thinking off the back of that, oh, well, if I've got the finances sorted, then it comes back to that accessibility bit. I can go and help more people for free. Which is arguably the point we're getting at, really. In order to guarantee your financial stability, which guarantees your mental stability to a degree.
Yeah.
Because it's all on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go and search it. Little triangle, bit at the bottom. That's what you need to be achieving first, like safety. That financial security allows you to feel safe, which means
you can breathe.
You can breathe. It's so nice to be able to breathe. I feel like we haven't breathed since we started this podcast. We're always fucking coughing and got colds on them. But anyway, you always want to be making sure that you are secure and financially stable so that you can give the best version of yourself to whoever it is you are working with. So let's assume now that you've not got that lottery win, but you still need those 2, 5, 10k months, whatever the figure is, it doesn't even matter. You need that to feel safe. Now, if you are consistently generating that, your business is in a healthy position so that you can make your services accessible through free means. We do so much free stuff in our Facebook group. We do the CBA show. They're free training shows. Free. You get access to it for free. It's decent value. This podcast is free. It's fucking good value. We bring some incredible experts on here, obviously ourselves as well. And the reality is, if all of you out there even just went back through this whole back catalogue of podcasts, you probably have to work a little bit harder because it's in no specific order, but you could literally take away everything from all of these episodes, implement it, and like you've got a free business coach in your pocket.
Make huge changes that are going to, literally change your life.
So being accessible, you're actually not being accessible if you're not running your business like a business.
Yeah. And a good example, I suppose, is look how many millionaires then give lots to charity or give their time away for free or do amazing things for free. But they couldn't do that if they weren't millionaires. But I suppose the negativity around is like, well, they're millionaires, so of course they can do that. But maybe their purpose is to get to being a millionaire so they can help lots of people.
That's it.
And so what if it is? So what if that's the way they've approached it? It's fine.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about money mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think we particularly find this industry very lacking in positive money mindset.
Yeah. Absolutely. And do you know what, as well? Like, we haven't got time to delve into this now, and it shouldn't be for now anyway, but we haven't even come on to the outcome / results part of being able to offer something high ticket as well. Because let's look at the one-off services, like the one-to-one that's 30 quid, or even a group puppy class, for example. You're being split 6 ways. Is the advice in a puppy class, and again, this isn't for now, this kind of like needs a whole load of depth in itself, but is someone going to get the same results from an 80 quid puppy class that they potentially could get if you were one-to-one with them for a longer period of time? So we haven't even touched on that side of it as well, because if you truly are doing it for the dogs, for the owners, then maybe we need to start looking at those outcomes as well.
Yeah. It's and again, I think I genuinely think this is where this industry, from you're looking at it as an organisational chart, the top layer is fundamentally flawed, because we're not setting businesses up at all.
No. And if there's a lack of continuity in anything, then nobody's going to get any results from it.
No. I'll tell you where I was going with that thought process, actually. I was thinking, if we were to go to anybody that we avidly listen to, like on a podcast, or we consume their books, or we consume their courses, or whatever it may be, I would anticipate, if I wanted a one-to-one with that person, that would come at a significant investment.
Yeah.
And I was going to compare it to the dog world, saying, like, if you were going to go to somebody like, I don't know.
Hormozy.
No, in dog world. So I was going to say, like, if you're going to go to like Shikashio or someone.
Okay.
Or Brophy or anybody, I stopped myself because I was thinking, I actually don't think it'd be the same thing. I still think that it would be around 60 quid.
Yeah, probably would.
And I say this because I remember going to somebody a few years back, and I'd done a lot of their courses, and I really wanted a one-to-one with them because I'd done the in-person group stuff and I found value in it. But you know, when you just want like your question answered and you want your dog to be looked at properly, even though you all know it anyway, but you want that thing. Mm. So I was like, oh, can I have a one-to-one? 65.
Really?
65.
Wow.
Which is why I got stuck when I was going, well, actually, in any other scenario, I would totally expect to pay a higher investment for that one-to-one.
Did you do the one-to-one?
I did do the one-to-one.
And did you get, what was the outcome?
I didn't feel the value in it.
Yeah. And I expect that, yeah, that's what I expected the answer to be.
I felt no value in it.
And actually, let me just look back at all of the one-off one-to-ones that I ever did. I don't feel like anybody would have walked away with a load of value from that, even though I'm like verbal diarrheaing all of this stuff. Have this stuff. I might never see you again. Have it. And they've gone, oh my Jesus Christ, what the hell? But they haven't said that, obviously. But that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And if they're not thinking that, they're probably thinking, great, but now what?
Yeah. I genuinely just did not feel any value from it. And probably because the brain starts to go, £65 for an hour. Like, I wasn't looking at the information that was being given to me. I was looking at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, it doesn't...
That's where that hourly rate thing
it doesn't do anybody a good service at all.
No, because you look at, like, I think we've mentioned this before, but you like the dentist or the vets, right? You go to the vets, might be more an apt thing. You might be in the vets 10 minutes, but your bill might be like 300 quid in that 10 minutes because that's what the dog needs to have the outcome. So like recently I lost my dog. He was on lots of medication. It was costing me like 250 quid a month or whatever. But for me, that is totally like a good exchange. I'm in there 10 minutes. He gets checked. He needs like slightly higher dose of medication. I come out with all these packets of medication, but I've got him for another month. Awesome. Like for me, that's a fair value exchange.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm being given those tablets and then if they don't work, that's a different matter.
Like mine, my £200 bill.
Oh yeah, you recently had a bit of a thing at the vets, didn't you?
Still not done nothing. Absolute waste of money, that is. To the point it's made me not want to go back, which is ridiculous because he needs to. But again, it's this value perception of that time. And we've got to stop looking. I can't say it any blunter. Like, we have to start looking inwards at ourselves and how you feel about money. Because how you feel about money is what is showing up everywhere. And it means not only will you not achieve the financial targets that you want to, you are not helping as many people as you think you are.
Yeah. And I would actually say if you could look at it, you look at money in a different way, or not put your own perceptions of money onto other people, you'd be doing yourself a huge favour and you'd be doing everyone else a huge favour as well. But we think the opposite.
Yeah.
We think we'll be doing ourselves out of, like, I don't know, money, but we wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Or we think we're robbing people.
I think this is that fine line in this industry, isn't it? Like, people can't differentiate, or they can, but that we're not brave enough to own it, because we want to do the kind, caring thing of like, but I really want to help them, and I love dogs and I love people, because
Sometimes.
but like, we go into that caring role first, but when it boils down to it, like, it's still money off the back of it that you're wanting. And I remember when we were doing the book, actually, and we needed to come up with that tagline to go like, what's the outcome from this book? And we were going, right, we was trying to put ourselves back into scratty dog trainer mind of, okay, how would we look at it? What would we like to have? But basically, like, you guys listening now, if you're thinking, I just really don't know where to start and I'm struggling, or even on the flip side, you're doing incredibly well, you're still going to have that fine line between wanting to deliver an incredible service so that your clients are happy, the dogs are happy, you know what I mean? Like, you're doing your best work, but also whilst being able to pay your bills. I genuinely do not know anybody out there, and we're working with people on a one-to-one basis that are very heavily invested on the dog side of it. Like, that bit shines through a lot more than the money. You can tell that that's the comfort zone more. However, when you start breaking it down, the reason they're coming on board is going, I can't pay my bills. I've been in my overdraft for about 5 years. And something's got to change. I now want to buy a house. I want to move country. Whatever the reason. I'm getting married. I've got no money now. It gets a bit serious. And I'm like, well, yeah, because they go hand in hand. Like, for me, it's unethical. I was like, unethical then. Unethical to run a business and charge money if you don't believe in your product and service.
Yeah.
And it's not going to do anything.
It's a lack of integrity there. Yeah.
Regardless at what price point you're putting out there, whether that's 30 quid, 500 quid or 2 grand. I don't care. It's not ethical in my mind if you're doing it from a money grab and delivering a shit quality service.
Yeah.
So just don't do it. But then on the flip side as well, it's also unethical to just give away everything and for you to suffer. Because if you're suffering, then your family's suffering and your friends are suffering because you're not in a good place.
It's funny, actually, as you're speaking then, I'm thinking of, like, if you were a paid employee, so I'm guessing most people listening to this are running their own business, they are self-employed, I don't know, whatever situation. You might work for somebody, but I think in the most part that's going to be it. If you were working for an employer, employer, not employee, you're the employee, and you felt you deserved a pay rise, you'd be like, oh, I want a pay rise for this. Like, I've done this job and I'm putting my all into it and I really feel like I deserve that pay rise. Are you thinking of the person who owns that company's family and their situation and their limitation? Like, you wouldn't think like that because you're just the employee of that person who owns that company.
Yeah.
It
And
might be
again,
Tesco's. It might be, say, it might be a really small company. It might be a huge, great, big, massive corporation. You're just thinking, I need more money. I deserve more money. We can think like that in an employment job. But when it comes to us being the person that's the one asking for the money from anyone else, we're like, oh God, I can't possibly do that. I'll just sacrifice myself because I'd like to help that dog.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't do that if it was that
No.
other situation.
and again, I know you're going to get the anomaly out there where and don't get me wrong, like, people will obviously be really appreciative of the support that you're going to give them. But are they going to be that appreciative?
Yeah.
And I know this could sound a bit like it's that icky feeling again, isn't it? Where you're going like, well, I don't do it for the appreciation. Of course we don't. We do it because we're all nice people. Like, we genuinely want to help and we genuinely want to support people. But it's it's dancing that line again of, well, yeah, but at what cost?
Yeah. And also, we were having the conversation in the car on the way up about, we're a tiny blip in someone's life. So even if your purpose is big and clear and you want to help, if you're seeing someone for an hour of their entire week and you leave the house and they get on with their life, you're no longer in the forefront of their mind. So if you've scratted around for 30 quid and you've probably stayed longer than you should have, let's face it, 2 hours, do you really think they're going like, oh my God, that person is just the best? Yeah, they might think that for a minute or so. Then they just get on with their life and you're forgotten again.
Like,
It
I
really
know, and I
doesn't
know
go
it's
that far.
harsh, and I know, we all love it. But again, the reality is,
No.
now actually be interesting to well, we'll never know the answer to this. We did a 7-day free trial
Oh, yeah.
to our £1,800, including the VAT, program of Business Basics. I would say, I can't remember the exact numbers now, 50 odd people
50 odd, yeah. Took it up, yeah.
enrolled in that for 7 days. I'd say we had two, 3 at most messages that came in saying thank you,
Thank you for it, yeah.
and the rest, nothing. Now, again, that's fine. We don't do it for the appreciation. We do it so that we can genuinely help you. But I can promise you now, we would not have been able to give you that value if the business wasn't making money. Because, wow, how are we supposed to do that? And the other point I'm trying to get at is, out of those 50 odd people, 2 people said thank you. So does that mean everybody else thought it was shit, didn't see the value, or actually just thought, I haven't even got time to do it properly, or I've taken bits of it and I'm going to implement, and then thanks,
Life
but I
gets
don't
in the
need to
way.
like reach out and so like, we'll never know, because everybody consumes things differently and they enroll in things for different reasons. But it's that point again of, you just don't know. So we get so sucked into our own self of, I need to be accessible, I need to be really supportive. If I don't help, that dog's going to end up, I
God
don't know,
knows
like
where. Or with some other trainer that's not going to be very
yeah,
good.
like shelter, behavioural euthanasia, like other train, whatever it is, if you don't get involved. And I think, again, it sounds really shitty, but it's the truth, unfortunately. I think we need to have a bit of a reality check sometimes and go, are we that important?
I've got Joe Rosie ringing in my ears.
Go on.
That early episode we did
Oh,
with Joe,
yeah,
and she's
yeah.
like, it's only dog training. She did it like in a whispery way. And it always sits in the back of my mind, because it is.
I know. And I know that sounds crap, because we love our dogs and we will do anything for them, and they break our hearts. But it's the same, like, honestly, since I've become a parent, I wonder how long I can say that for now. There'll be 6 and 4 this year.
But you're
Since
always
I've
going to be
become
a parent.
Yeah, I will. Still feel like I'm an like a new parent. I'm in the game a bit longer now. Anyway, but even when I look at that world, I'm like, even if I was to bring somebody on to, I don't know, support me with the kids in whichever way, shape or form, I'm still only as invested as I want to be at that time.
Yeah.
And that's my flesh and blood.
Yeah.
It's a bit different to a dog. It's not, but it is. And I'm like, it's still the same concept of someone is only as important as the pedestal that they put you on. That's all it is. And we have this conversation again regularly thinking, oh, we've said this to our people, whether, again, you're in the free community or the paid community. We say this. Why? And we catch ourselves, don't we? Why are they not doing it? And we go, fucking hell, because we're an hour in their life. Even if they've been with us for 12 months.
Yeah.
We are but a blip in the grand scheme of things. And of course, everyone consumes knowledge and information from elsewhere.
And of course, everybody else has got different opinions that are going.
Yep.
They're going to be swayed by those sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So unless we're there in their heads 24/7, hours a day, like it's
you can be a big part of somebody's life, but you're never going to be bigger than what else is going on.
No, you're right.
So I think the point of this episode is try not to get hung up about the money. Mm-hmm. Easier said than done. We will do another money episode because I feel like it's needed.
We can continually talk about this. This could be the only thing we ever talk about.
I
and
know.
It would help.
I know. But if you genuinely want to be accessible to everyone, you have to make sure that the business is looked after first.
Yeah, put yourself first and put the business first.
Yeah. If the business is not operating, if the business is not generating a turnover, you cannot possibly put that back in to make more accessible products. Sorry, not sorry.